Hello, this is Christian Okoye, former Kansas City Chiefs. You are listening to Grilling Truth.
Welcome to the NFL Legends Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Legends Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care. If you want to check out more about the future of sports medicine, go to thegruelingtruth.net. Click the banner. It'll take you right to the site. I'm your host for the Legends Show, Mike Goodpaster, and my guest today is a former two-time Pro Bowl kicker with the Chargers, Saints, and a few other teams sprinkled in here and there. Help me welcome to the Grueling Truth, John Carney. How you doing, John?
Doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so just tell us a little bit about maybe some of your early influences growing up when you started playing football.
Well, high school, sophomore year, actually, I was a soccer player. That was my passion at the time. Also enjoyed playing trumpet, a few other things, surfing, snorkeling. I was growing up in Florida. Went to a great high school, Cardinal Newman High School. We had a fantastic football program, Coach Sam Budnick, who holds all kinds of Florida State records and is in the Florida State Hall of Fame. For high school coaches, just had a great program. And if you're a boy at that school, it was expected to go out for the team. It was like a rite of passage. And so I went for the team thinking I was a receiver. But the guys kicking and punting footballs were all football guys, and figured I could do that with a soccer ball. So I went to some work, practicing how to kick a football. Went to a Garo Premium soccer and kicking camp in Fort Lauderdale right before my sophomore year to figure out how to do this football thing, and that's how I got started.
All right, so when did you realize that you could do more than just kick in high school?
Well, I had only set out really to kick in high school and punt. I enjoyed doing that. It was a lot of fun to be part of the team in that respect. I did not think I would play football in college. I thought if I did anything sports-wise in college, that would be soccer. But we had a great running back at our school, Alonzo Jefferson, All-American. He attracted scouts from all over the country, and my head coach, Sam Budnick, would push me and a few other players towards those scouts after they had gotten a good look at Alonzo. And Alonzo did go to Notre Dame, did agree, signed his letter of intent to go to Notre Dame, and the Notre Dame recruiters decided to take me as a bonus package as a preferred walk-on.
Okay, so as a preferred walk-on, what was it like when you got to Notre Dame? Jerry Faust was the coach at the time. And Jerry's a guy that I've talked to. Jerry's a great guy. And I know he gets strung over the coals because his career at Notre Dame didn't turn out the way everybody expected. But you want to talk a little bit about Coach Faust and maybe your start there as a preferred walk-on?
Well, I really appreciated Coach Faust. He was the one and his staff that recruited me and Alonzo. He actually came down and spoke at our school. We had a big school assembly, presented Alonzo with a jersey and the whole gig. And I really liked Jerry Faust. He loved Notre Dame, and I enjoyed playing for him. He was a fantastic recruiter. We always had great All-Americans coming in every year. He just did a great job recruiting, and he loved the school. And unfortunately, wins and losses, that record didn't work out for him there. But I don't know if I've ever met a man or a coach who loved and appreciated and respected Notre Dame as much as Jerry Faust.
Yeah, and I think people forget the schedule Notre Dame was playing in the early 80s when he was there. No team plays any schedule like that today.
No, I mean, he was playing the best of the best, and he was not only playing great programs with very established coaches, the Bo Schembechlers and Penn State's coach.
Yeah, Joe Paterno.
Bill Paterno, and I mean, Perlis at Michigan State. So, just some huge icons in college football, and that was every week. I mean, Notre Dame didn't get any breaks. They played the big dogs every week, and you're right, those schedules were tough.
Now, my favorite game that you ever played in, I think, was the 1984 game at USC in the mud. You want to talk a little bit about that game? And that had to be a lot of fun for a kicker.
The Mud Bowl. Yeah, it's ironic that at the end of the season we came out to SC to a rainstorm. It was an evening game, and yeah, the rains came down, and the field was a quagmire. Fortunately, back then we still had kicking blocks, so the football when I was kicking the field goals wasn't necessarily in the puddle, although my tee was. Somehow we snuck in two 45-yard field goals, which was pretty exciting. And we needed to win that game to get a decent bowl game, and we did. We beat SC in the mud and got a berth to the Aloha Bowl in Hawaii, which, of course, was a great reward and a lot of fun to go out to Hawaii and play a football game against SMU.
Yeah, and then after the 85 season, they let Coach Faust go. Lou Holtz comes in. What was your first take on Holtz, and how was he so quickly or able so quickly to change the culture at Notre Dame?
Well, Coach Holtz is a fantastic coach, and he has a blueprint of success for rebuilding a program from the bottom up. And he's, when you're playing for him, it's no nonsense. I love Lou Holtz. He's been a great supporter of myself and many of his players that have played for him and gone on in life. He remembers everybody and really cherishes those relationships. When you're playing for him, though, it's no nonsense. There's no doubt who's in charge. He came in from day one and put his foot down and said, this is the way it's going to be, my way or the highway. We're going to work hard. I want to see who has heart. We're going to start these winter workout programs at 6 a.m. You better be dressed and ready to go at 6 a.m. in your calisthenic line. And it was no nonsense. And he really, we needed a swift kick in the butt and a wake-up call, and he was the one to give it to us. And he made us very competitive that next year and, of course, won a national championship in his third year there.
Yeah, and 1987, you were undrafted, like most kickers. You got signed by the Cincinnati Bengals. You want to talk a little bit about that experience because they had an established kicker in Jim Breach there, so it was going to be hard to beat him out anyways.
Agreed. I thought I had inside track because one of our coaches from Notre Dame just left and went to the Cincinnati Bengals as the special teams coach. His name was Coach Mike Stock.
Yeah.
And Mike coached for many years in the NFL, a very, very good coach. So I was like, okay, well, I have an in there. That helps. Jim Breach had some back trouble the year before, and statistically it wasn't what they wanted. So at that time, so there was a little bit of an opportunity. There was another kicker, Massimo Maka from Penn State, who was also with me, and a few other guys as well. But it was a learning experience for me, absolutely. I learned about what it means to be a professional kicker just watching and observing Jim Breach. Very consistent, day to day, and he kicks the ball straight all day long, every day. And Massimo Maka, myself, the young kickers, we thought it was all about kicking it high and far and having an impressive kick that went over the top of the uprights and all this good stuff. But we didn't realize how consistent an NFL kicker needed to be on a day-to-day basis to be an established kicker like Jim Breach. And, of course, Jim went on and played another several years. Very, very accomplished kicker. Had a great Super Bowl 2 years later, actually. The Bengals win the Super Bowl, and I think Jim Breach kicked a 48-yarder and a few others. So it was a great learning experience for me.
Yeah, and then from there you had 19, the rest of 87, 88, 89. You bounced around, got a shot with a few teams, but mentally that had to be very hard for you to know that you had the talent to kick in the NFL, but to not really get a chance because, let's face it, if you're a kicker, there's only 32 jobs available, less than that back then, and they're not taking a backup kicker.
No, NFL doesn't carry backup kickers or punters. You're either the starter or you go home. And so, again, that was something that was different from college. You know, you couldn't have a bad day or a bad game and sit on the bench for a game and then come back the next week. You had to be the guy every week, and not just 11 games like college, but 16 regular season games, 4 preseason games, hopefully some playoff games. So you're playing for 5 months, and you need to be ready every Sunday. So it was a learning again. It is a benefit for me to not get a legitimate shot early. I needed to go back to the drawing board. I needed to add to my strength and conditioning. I needed to add some weight and continue to clean up my mechanics and mentally be ready to handle the pressure or the responsibility of being good every day and building confidence in the coaching staff and your teammates that you're going to be ready to go every Sunday.
Now, when you're on your own over those couple years, did you have a private kicking coach, or was this something you did on your own?
Most of it was on my own. I did not have a private kicking coach. I would have loved to have a private kicking coach. There just weren't many available at that time. And it was going to a field, going to a gym, watching kickers when I had an opportunity to on TV, on Sundays, just clicking around the TV stations, watching kickers do their thing and what their routine looked like and what the flight of the football looked like. During my tryouts, I paid close attention to the veteran kickers that were at those tryouts, or if I was in a training camp, what does the veteran kicker do? What's his routine look like? And just continue to pick up lessons and tools that were going to help me in the future.
Yeah, and then finally in 1990, you hooked on with the San Diego Chargers. What was that like, first regular season NFL game when you go out to kick the ball?
Well, training camp, I had a great time in training camp with the San Diego Chargers. I was competing at the time with Fuad Revez, who had just been let go by the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Fuad had, I think, 3 or 4 years of experience on me. So at the end of preseason, they went with Fuad, which I understood. I felt really good and confident about my kicking at the time, but they went with the experience. It just never worked out well for Fuad. And then during the time they had released me, I went up and kicked off one game for the Rams because their kicker, Mike Lansford, had a full calf, so they brought me in just to kick off for him one game. And then the following week, the Chargers brought me back. And so that was week 5 or 6. I think we played Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think I just had a couple extra points that game. But it was exciting. It was exciting to get into a regular season game. I had a few regular season games with Tampa Bay in cleanup duty at the end of 88 and 89. Wasn't as strong or as wise when I was experiencing those games with Tampa Bay. Again, more learning for me. And I finally felt now with the Chargers, I'd been around enough and picked up enough secrets and enough experience from the veterans that I've been paying attention to really make a good go at it. And we won some games with the Chargers that year. It wasn't a playoff year, but we won some games, and it was a lot of fun. And our field goal team, the protection, the snapper, the holder were all very good. And so it was a good start for my Charger career.
Yeah, then 1991, didn't win a lot of games. 1992, Bobby Ross comes in. You guys make the playoffs. You get to the 94 season now, and that had to be a special season because that really hadn't happened in San Diego since, the Dan Fouts, Dan Coryell, Air Coryell, the early 80s. You want to talk a little bit about that season?
It was a Cinderella season, absolutely. We had brought in some solid veterans. Stan Brock was an offensive lineman we brought in from New Orleans Saints, and he became a quick leader for us. Stan Humphries, our quarterback, another leader that we had brought in from the Washington Redskins. We had some good leadership and some talented guys, and we were fortunate to escape the injury bug. We didn't lose too many guys to injury, and that's a big part of the equation of winning and having a season that continues to move forward. It was a lot of fun, and as the season went on, the momentum started building that, hey, we're headed for the playoffs. Hey, it looks like we're going to win our division. Hey, we're pretty good. let's see what we can do with this. I think our coaching staff did a great job. Bobby Ross is just, I love Bobby Ross. He's a no-nonsense, all business, loves the game of football coach, and not going to get up there and entertain you with a lot of great stories, but he will make sure your team is prepared. And it was just a great chemistry that year, and we almost pulled it off. We had we surprised the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game at their place, come away with a win there, and head down to Miami and run into maybe one of the best offensive teams in NFL history, the San Francisco 49ers, and their defense was darn good as well. We just couldn't get over that hurdle. But it was a great ride and a great season.
All right. Then was it the 2000 season? You go to New Orleans. What were your thoughts on leaving San Diego and going to New Orleans?
Well, I always had imagined I would retire a San Diego Charger, so that was a surprise to me. We had a new general manager come in, John Butler from the Buffalo Bills. The first thing he said to me when I met him in the hallway was, I remember you kicked a game-winning field goal against my team, the Buffalo Bills. I said, I hope that you don't hold that against me. But he came in with the idea of flipping the roster. I was just an early part of that flip because my contract was up. So I was one of the early guys to be shown the door. But within 3 years, they had cleaned house, and there were only 2 players remaining in 3 years from that roster in 2000, and that was a long snapper, David Binn, and a nose guard, Jamal Williams. The Junior Seau's, the Rodney Harrisons, the John Perellas, you name it, every player had been removed from that team. So that was John Butler's philosophy. He was going to flip the team and build the team, and he was a good talent evaluator. He built a very good team. The Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinsons and all those guys, those were John Butler's guys. So he did a good job. But I wanted to stay a San Diego Charger. That wasn't in the cards. I spent an off-season training and waiting for an opportunity, and the New Orleans Saints gave me a phone call in training camp and said, we want you to come down here and kick for us, and that was very exciting. I didn't know much about New Orleans or their organization, but came down there and they welcomed me, gave me a warm welcome, and it was exciting. Jim Haslett really had things going down there, and it was exciting to be part of the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, and really, if you're a kicker, it's not that bad to kick indoors with no wind, right?
Right. Great benefit. Not only do you have 8 games indoors at your place, but you have another indoor game at the Atlanta Falcons. So 9 games indoors, you get a really good night rest on Saturday night when you know you can wake up and the conditions are going to be calm.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the mud of USC or the snow if you go to Green Bay. The thing that stood out the most to me about the Saints was the game-winning kick after Hurricane Katrina that made the front of Sports Illustrated.
Yes, that was somewhat of a whole surreal type of period in our lives, a several-week period, starting with jumping on an airplane and leaving New Orleans on a Sunday morning, knowing that Hurricane Katrina was going to hit the city Sunday night. It was the last week of preseason. They flew us out to Oakland. We practiced there for a few days at San Jose State and then played the Oakland Raiders on Thursday night. We woke up Monday hearing that the city had withstood the hurricane and everything was pretty good. And then later that day found out that the levees had broke and the city had flooded and things were in turmoil. And it was like that all week long. The players didn't want to play the game, but the league had other notions, so we played the game Thursday night. After the game, the coaching staff said, I can't go back to New Orleans, so you're on your own. Fly wherever you want to fly to, and meet us in San Antonio Sunday night, which was bizarre. So everybody flew to their home base and then flew back to San Antonio. San Antonio ended up being our home base for the season. And that was a whole debacle, the whole season out there, and the way they set the team up was a total disaster. But our first regular season game was that week later at Carolina. Carolina was chosen to win the division. They had a great team. I believe Jake Delhomme was their starting quarterback, who had been our quarterback at the Saints. And somehow we played a very clean game, a very emotional game for us and all the people of the Gulf South. And on a windy day in Carolina, we snuck in a 47-yard field goal at the end of the game to win it. And it was just very exciting for us and the people of the Gulf South. It lifted a lot of spirits, and it was a good start to a season that fell apart quickly, mainly because of the operation and the situation they put us in out in San Antonio.
Yeah, and the next year when you guys finally get back to the Superdome, you get the block kick by Steve Gleason. You want to talk a little bit about that and just coming back to the Dome after everything you guys and that entire community had been through?
That was an amazing night. The reopening of the Superdome a year later, a little over a year later, that certainly had national attention to rebuild New Orleans, to bring the Saints back to New Orleans, to bring professional sports and the attention from the country back to New Orleans. That game felt like a playoff game, just many celebrities, dignitaries, politicians on the field prior to the game. Every news station, sports station was there to cover this game. And again, the Atlanta Falcons with Michael Vick, they were the big dog that year and looked like they were going to win the division. You mentioned Steve Gleason, a very good friend of mine. Steve and I roomed together when we were in San Antonio. A great special teams guy, a great person. And he snuck through and blocked a punt, which led to the first score. And then the gates were open, and we put up some good points that game, and it was just a lot of fun. And Coach Payton had told us during the week, this is a very special game, but it only is truly special if we win it. So, yeah. He had us firing on all cylinders. Of course, we had Drew Brees that we picked up from the San Diego Chargers, and Drew, with a shoulder that still probably wasn't 100%, led us on a great victory drive that game, and victory drives during the course of the season, and took us to the NFC Championship game, which was pretty darn amazing, knowing what he had come through and what he had overcome with that surgically repaired shoulder.
Yeah, an amazing quarterback. Definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Then you get, after 2006, you bounce around. You go to Jacksonville, Kansas City in 2007, the Giants in 2008, back to New Orleans in 2009. I assume you had a wife and kids at that point. I don't know how old your kids are, but that had to be difficult on your family.
It was. The kids came to New Orleans with us and loved it. We kept our home out here in San Diego, so the kids would go to school in New Orleans in the fall, go to school in San Diego in the spring. They thought it was wonderful. When I started doing the fill-in duty for kickers who were hurt or underperforming in 2007, 8, 9, I did not bring the family with me because just wasn't sure how long I was going to be at the team, because at times I was just filling in for a kicker who was hurt. We didn't know how long that injury was going to last. So the kids and my wife would come out to visit, but I kept them home here in San Diego and stable with their school and their friends and their lives out here. So they worked out well. They enjoyed the travel. They enjoyed visiting all the teams and getting jerseys of all the teams I played for. And that was fun to get a peek at the league from other franchise perspectives at the end of my career.
Yeah, and then at the age of 44, you become a Pro Bowler again. What was it, 35 for 38 on field goal attempts with the Giants?
I don't. Yeah, but playing for the Giants was very special for many reasons. A great organization from top to bottom, ownership, management, coaching staff. Just an amazing experience to be a part of that organization. My father, growing up He grew up in Rhode Island. He was always a New York Giants fan, so that made his day for his son to play for the Giants, his favorite team. My father had also been diagnosed with cancer that year, so I got to see a lot of him because I was within driving distance from New York to Rhode Island. So it was special that I got to see him a number of times during that fall season when he first started battling his cancer. And the Giants were good. They had just won a Super Bowl, and had Plexico Burress not shot himself in the leg, he probably would have won the Super Bowl night. Because up to that point, we were killing people. I think we were like 11-1 or something. It was, we were just rolling and just had great momentum. But losing Plexico really changed the dynamic of our offense, and our offense struggled from that point on.
Yeah, then you go to the Saints for a little while the next year, but I know I told you I'd keep it to 30 minutes. So what are you doing today? I know you're doing some great things with your kicking academies and your coaching. You want to tell everybody what's going on with your life right now?
Thanks, Mike. Well, I've made it my passion now to mentor, coach, teach, and train the specialists of today, high school, college, and pro. I have a gym out here in Carlsbad, California called Carney Training Facility, and we train kickers and punters, skill-specific training routines that are going to make them the best, benefit them the best. So I think it's very important. It's a huge, crucial element to have the correct strength conditioning for kickers and punters. We have camps. We have 3 camps coming up right now. We have a camp in Providence, Rhode Island this coming Saturday. We have a camp in Kansas City on the 21st of July, a camp in San Diego on the 28th of July. And then we have a huge camp in the springtime. It's usually during Christmas break. I think next year it's going to be January 5th and 6th, called the Ultimate Specialist Camp. That is a 2-day, 2-night camp at the Olympic Training Center here in San Diego. That's amazing. We cover every aspect of kicking and punting and snapping. That's a must if you're a kicker or punter to go to. We do stuff for the NFL guys. July 9th through the 13th, we'll have the Launching Pad Camp. That'll be NFL-only specialists. We'll get about 14 NFL kickers, punters, and long snappers to come and train and fine-tune themselves mentally and physically right before their training camp begins. And a few other things we do. We have lessons of the week. If you can't get to me, if you can't get to one of these camps, if you go to carneycoaching.com, you can subscribe to Lessons of the Week, and you will get 2 video lessons per week on punting, kicking, strength and conditioning. And these are the pearls of wisdom that I've collected over the course of my career that are going to help guys take their game to a new level. And that's a real easy one because it comes right to your computer. Lessons of the Week. We also have a kicking DVD called Kick, Punt, Train Like a Pro. That's got a ton of information along with NFL highlights in that, many demonstrations from some of my college and pro kickers. These are all great avenues to increase your game and get more information and more coaching. It's available to you, at carneycoaching.com.
All right, John. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. Maybe we can have you back in the future.
Mike, I really appreciate it.
All right, and I want to remind everybody, carneycoaching.com. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. We'll be live at 12 o'clock Eastern with myself and Steve Risley on our daily show. Steve, of course, was a member of the 1981 Indiana National Championship basketball team. Our subject today is NFL suspensions and Roger Goodell, so that should be fun. You can hear all of our shows on iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for John Carney, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.